Hello, welcome to my podcast. In today's podcast, I want to talk about forgiveness, but forgiveness from an energetic point of view as well, because forgiveness isn't just something we do in the human world. It actually has a huge effect on us energetically with the person that we're forgiving or not forgiving. There are all people in our lives who we probably have felt didn't deserve forgiveness or we did not want to forgive them. If you have a lot of anger and hurt from what has just happened in the relationship, you will find it really hard to forgive them. I suggest you start working on letting your anger go, your rage, your resentment, your hate. Let that go. Do all the modalities you know about, tapping and hypnosis, release work, meditation, using your pendulum to release it. Then work on letting go of your hurt and the emotional pain that you're suffering from what's just happened. If there's been betrayal, it would be very hard to forgive someone because there's also trust issues now between you. Forgiving someone doesn't mean you have to be with them anymore. You can have already severed the relationship and not be with that person. But when you don't forgive them, you're actually tied to them energetically. It's like a cord that goes between you that isn't resolved. And when it's not resolved or finished or you've let it go, you will stay with them connected for your whole life. And even when you cross, you're still connected. That's why I wanted to make this podcast, because forgiving someone is like having them held on to you and them held on the other way. Not forgiving somebody holds you to them like with a cord. It's like an energetic cord between you, and it will remain for all your life, whether they're with you or not, and also when you cross. The other good thing about forgiving someone, especially for very bad thing that they've done to you, will mean that you can actually forgive them, settle it, whether they're on this side or the other side, because it's energetic. Then you can actually request you don't have any more lives with them. I've done that with 2 people. I don't want to have another life with 2 of the people. I've done that, been there, not doing that again. Next time I really will read the small print. So it has a really benefit from a long-term point of view. The only reason you will have to come back and be with them is karmic. But I feel that forgiving somebody completely is actually a karmic act. It settles the karma between you. While you are coming from power and control, I don't think you'll be able to forgive them, because power and control makes it that you won't be able to forgive anybody. However, if you come from love, you will actually be able to forgive them. And I'm not talking about conditional love, I'm talking about unconditional love, because when we come from unconditional love, it's much easier to do everything, actually, because we're coming and working from a higher vibrational level. So the first thing I suggest to you, I'm sorry about my motorbike man driving past, the first thing I suggest to you that you do is to come from unconditional love. Decide that you're going to be loving, and loving to yourself around this and loving to them. It is important, I think, to speak to them telepathically, and I've got a podcast on how to do this, even though it's actually quite simple. So imagine them in front of you and speak to them. Tell them all how you feel, particularly the hurt, the anger, how angry you are with them. Let it rip. They're not there in terms of you. They're not in the room. So it's a safe environment, and let them know how you are. Some people write a letter to the person and express how they feel and get it all out. They don't send the letter, but they do express it. If you're in a position where you're going to have an ongoing relationship with them, so energetically you're going to keep bouncing in and out of each other, you can actually speak to them once you settle down and tell them that you've forgiven them. There is a thing in us that we don't want to forgive them, because that's our way to punish them back, and that will come from conditional love or power and control. Some acts that people do to other people seem unforgivable, and in a sense they are. And if you've had a life where you've had some really terrible things happen to you that are unforgivable, you're actually working, when you do the forgiveness thing, you actually work on a very, very high level, because they are going to push all your buttons to make you have to do something which is actually very, very difficult. I think it's very difficult. I've had 2 people that I've had to forgive, and it's been difficult. I've got there now, and I can honestly say I've forgiven them. However, it's been a long journey to do it. And I really had to clear out all my emotions first and then make sure I came from love and then do it. It's the energetic forgiveness seems to come in layers too. There will be layers of it. So don't think you can just, you might be, but most probably you won't be able to just do it in one hit. You'll probably have to do it over and over again. I read a story about a man whose son, I think, had been killed by somebody, and in a very brutal way, and he knew who the person was. The person was in jail. And the way he did it was every day he just started saying, I forgive you. And at the beginning when he said, I forgive you, it was probably a bit lame and with just words. But as he just said it every day, I forgive you for what you did, blah, blah, I forgive you, it actually had more and more impact. And ultimately he was actually able to forgive him completely. He severed and broke the energetic bond that was holding him back between the two of them. It's a letting go, really. It's a letting go energetically, and also the wrong of it and letting that go. We're not saying we forgive the actual behaviour. We are really just forgiving the person who did the behaviour, because remember, that person is fairly flawed and damaged. Anyone who does anything brutal, any abuse, any betrayal, there is a flaw there in the person. So they're not all bad, they're not all good, obviously, but when we forgive, we understand that we are all bits and pieces of everything, and we could perhaps do things that also are forgivable to and for other people. You can also ask for other people to forgive you. So if you think maybe you've done something not as well as you could have, or you're not sure if you have or not, you can still ask for their forgiveness, and I've done that. So I've forgiven people, and I've also asked for forgiveness with certain people, because even those people, maybe I didn't behave in my best self. I wasn't my best self because I pressed all my buttons, I went mental. So you can also ask for that. The energy of it, for me, is very important in the aura, because it's like having a tie to each of you. And the problem with the unforgiveness, I use that word, I made up a new word for the dictionary. It's not in the dictionary if you have a look, but I call it unforgiveness, is that you hold on to the anger-based emotions and then the hurt-based emotions, and both of those are really poison to the body. And that little saying, not forgiving someone, is like something like taking the poison yourself or something. And there's some truth in that, because while you hang on to those emotions, they will make you bitter, twisted. And that's the other reason you need to forgive energetically, because it's not good for your aura. It's actually very bad for your aura, holding all those dark and negative energies in. Once you forgive them, let go of those emotions, your aura will be cleansed and you can fill yourself up with light. I also send them love and light. You can't do that at the beginning of the process, I can tell you, but you can at the end of the process. And even if people have died, I had to do the forgiveness for two people. Well, actually, there was another one too, but two people on the other side. I did my final part of my forgiveness then, because they'd already passed. So having someone die doesn't stop you from doing the energy work. And that's what we're really talking about, is the energy connection, which is the thing that holds you together. I felt free and liberated once I'd forgiven them. I had that feeling that they weren't going to affect me. I'd let it go. I knew what happened, they knew what happened, but I'd forgiven them. And I even had a sense that they were grateful that I had done that. And I also actually asked for their forgiveness, went the other way. The other part of forgiveness is to forgive yourself, because you'll tie yourself up in knots. So if you've done things that you're not proud of or you regret, you need to forgive yourself and let go of the guilt, because you'll have a lot of guilt around it, and regret and remorse. Then I think it's a good idea to do something to fix it up. So let go of all those emotions and then try and write it. Now, if you can't write it with the person because the relationship's over, learn the lesson and don't do it again. And if you find yourself falling into it and sabotaging it, you need to stop and do it a different way. So be more kind, be more loving, and also be more quiet, because sometimes we say things to people we shouldn't say. it's best to be quiet. It's not always this idea that, I'm tell you what I want and I say what I think. You can get into an awful lot of trouble with that. It's best to decide whether it's a good idea to say that to somebody, because then you're going to actually destroy the relationship you have with them. Look at forgiveness now from an energetic point of view, that you're tied to that person, the energy's tied. Find a way to cut the cord and break it and let them go, and you are free as well from it now. It will be really beneficial to you. It will be a relief energetically, but also on a human level, because it's done now and it's finished. It takes a long time with some relationships and some things, so be patient with it and be patient with yourselves, but you can do it step by step. You can do it slowly, so eventually it's actually all finished. With some people, there was a lot of years, a lot of decades of things to forgive, so don't expect that you can just do one meditation or one set of tapping and it's done. I'm wishing you good luck with this, because it actually is, I would say, one of the hardest things to do, because part of us doesn't want to do it, our human part. But if you come from your soul more, you'll have more success, because the human's just cranky and wants to get its own way and doesn't want to do it. But the soul knows, this is my lesson and I set it up. And that's the other thing to realise, that we're all down here almost like in a play, and we set this up. So these people have given me a lesson in what love is and unconditional love, and they've also given me a lesson in forgiveness, which is a huge act of love and compassion. If you are able to forgive people, it shows that you have empathy for the situation, but you also have great capacity for love and to love. And that's what we're here to learn. So see it as a lesson for yourself as well. I'm wishing you love, and I'm sending you lots of light.